Hello, everyone. My name is Angel Jimenez Gutierrez, founder of Profundiza, and I welcome you to this new series of videos that we have prepared for all of you. I am extremely happy and excited because I was able to get a yes from my friends Tanja and Pedro to join us in this new initiative. And because of all that, all of you are in your way for a wild ride. So, hello, Tanja. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. How are you?
Angel, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here. As always, of course, you would always get a yes for this experience and chatting with you.
Oh, you're so kind, Tanya. Thank you very much. Hello, Pedro. It is also my pleasure to have you here with us. How you doing?
Fantastic, Angel. Thank you so much for having us. It's always a joy to connect with you and to explore the wonders of our mind and then transformation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally second that. Thank you very much, Pedro. And well, I want to share with everyone that Tanya and Pedro are founder and senior partner, respectively, of the Innerland Institute. And currently, we're entering to the very final stage of the first immersion that so kindly they allow us, Profundiza, to organize with them.
Mhm.
And the experience has been amazing. And so, on this first episode, I would love to focus on the work that the Innerland Institute performs.
Mhm.
And to do that, I would like to, for you, Tanya and Pedro, to tell us more about yourselves. And so, Tanya, I have your bio like right
Mhm.
here, but
Mhm.
please tell us about yourself and your career.
Well, I would define myself always since I was very young as a explorer of the mind. I'm fascinated. It fascinates me, the human mind, the human spirit, how it works, and how we can transcend difficulties and create a better experience in this lifetime for all of us. I studied philosophy by trade, and my master's is in philosophy and ethics, and I got certifications in philosophy for children, and I was director of the human rights chapter of Tibet House, and was a former Olympian by a very young experience in sailing, and but more than anything, I consider myself beyond titles and certifications a curious soul. And I've been very lucky to share that curiosity and that hunger for inner exploration in my life, and that's what got me to found Innerland Institute with along with Pedro. First in Mexico City, we started with a friend of mine a program for children called Think, the Heart in Need for Knowledge, which is about teaching children philosophy and how to think in life in a critical way. And that led us then, when we moved to Canada, to found Innerland, to continue that hunger to gather people.
Hunger to gather people.
Yes, that are really eager to explore together their inner world.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, that's very nice because it is very easy for all of us to fall into the titles thing, and then you bring the word curiosity, right? You're a curious soul, I believe that's what you said,
Yes,
and yeah, that is very nice. Um,
I think that's what certifies me the most.
I know.
That I keep being a curious soul.
That is very nice. Well, thank you very much, Tanya. And now let me get back here to Pedro, or actually I should say Dr. Pedro Cortina. I also have here your bio, Pedro, and there is no secret in my circle that one of my favorite books is Reflection, which
Ah.
you happen to write, right? So please, can you share with all of us about your path?
Yes, my background is in leadership and education and entrepreneurship and coaching. Formally, I also have an academic background in philosophy, and I finished a doctorate in leadership and entrepreneurship. But my passion, my absolute passion in life, is human transformation, and the process of moving from pain to alignment, from split in from an inner split to an inner whole, from confusion to understanding. And I think we all human beings have this capacity, but it's not easy to access, though. And it's not easy to access because uh, the way we engage with our own mind and with our own emotions has been tainted by a very, very long tradition of misunderstandings, of roles, assumptions, projections about roles and gender, identity, etc., etc. And these things have sadly removed us from our ability to really connect with who we are and to innately know what's missing inside, and to absolutely be able to give us those resources to ourselves, that clarity and that understanding. And so after Tanja started Innerland way back, how many years? I don't know, 10, 12, 15, 20 years? Many years. How many years, Tanja?
2001, when Sebastian
2001.
was born.
Oh my
20 years.
goodness!
Oh my God, so 21 years.
Goodness gracious! So we've been working together in many projects, and we've been developing many new modalities and strategies on how to achieve that, on how to get there, on how to support our clients and people in general to get there, to get to that space that we call zero space. And we don't call zero space because there's lack of anything. We call it zero space because that's the utmost grounding we can access for ourselves. But I'm sure we'll talk more about that later on.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Pedro. You know, right now there were a few things that you mentioned that I would like for you to tell us a little bit more about it. But I have heard this from you, but of course, there's many people that are hopefully are watching this, and this it's important that they hear it from you. Within all these distractions that you were stating that possibly society has created through generations, and how we have been in a way told to do not pay so much attention to what is happening here inside. You use the word a lot, innocently, that all of us are innocent in this confusion, in this sense of not exactly knowing or not being grounded. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think we have the assumption and the false understanding that when there's pain or discomfort, there needs to be some kind of guilty party. There needs to be some kind of responsibility laden on something or somehow, and we tend to identify that as wrong or inadequate. And the reality is that we've evolved on the assumption of goodness. We've evolved under the assumption of goodness, and that means that of course we're going to trust our parents. Of course we're going to trust the people around us. Of course we're going to trust, and they are going to trust their parents. And of course we're going to trust media, and of course we're going to trust people that are trying to tell us what's right, what's not, etc., etc. So when I say innocently, I truly mean innocently. We march into life innocently, open, vulnerable, and trusting the environment because we want to survive. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just the evolution of ideas and the evolution of access to knowledge and the evolution of access to tools to transform our mind that has been lacking. And so that's what Tanja and I have been concentrating on for many, many years, the availability and accessibility to these tools that we do not have around. In other words, the rules that apply outside in the physical world are not the same rules that apply inside. We think they're the same because that's what we've learned. We think that if we're feeling something uncomfortable, we need to fix it, patch it up, push it away, exile it somewhere, In the same way, when we see something that's not working for us in the outside world, we bring something and we remove it, we push it away.
Mhm.
But internally, Angel, this only generates more problems, more resistance, more disintegration, more lack of alignment. And so many of the models we've developed at the Innerland Institute are models that actually are designed to solve this apparent contradiction. And it's just an apparent contradiction. In essence, it's just that the rules are different. When we have problems inside, when we have pain inside, we don't push the pain away. We acknowledge, we understand, we look at the origin, we understand the causes, we see what we're missing, what we're not able to see, and then naturally the dawn of understanding instead of pushing things around or trying to fix them.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Pedro. Yeah. If you bring me the word integration, right? Instead of pushing them away, like we integrate them. So thank you very much, Pedro. Tanya, I would like to go back with you now. And you were just mentioning about 2001, the Inland Institute. And I remember when I started working with you precisely, there were individual sessions. And I was one of your clients many years ago. But and I am able to notice your passion and love for philosophy, self-inquiry, and now I believe that what I experienced from you is like so much passion for the immersions that you are organizing every year, and as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, that we're doing the very first one with you guys, but you guys have like so much experience on them and so many under your belt. Would you like to tell us about what exactly is an immersion? Why do you find so much passion on them? Please.
Of course. Well, it's a little bit really writing on what Pedro was saying, that to be able to access our wholeness, our zero space, our alignment, our sense of goodness, and that innocence, we need to practice. And practicing is always better when we do it with a group of people that are like-minded. So we created these experiences not for people to just come to a workshop in 2 days and then leave with some information, but not really a circle to practice. So when we create the immersions, what we're doing is we're teaching the tools, and then we're inviting people to practice together and have this experience over and over again. Why? Because when we practice together and we have the capacity to make it a habit in our lives, what zero space feels like, to make it a habit, what alignment feels like, to make it a habit, but really being connected to the most beautiful part of ourselves, and remember our goodness, remember the love, and remember the compassion that is there for us, we function better in the world, with our families, with our friends, with our communities, and our workspace. So what we believe is that people just need the opportunity, and that's what the immersions are about. Creating the opportunity for people to gather, to practice, to remember that beauty, that wisdom, that compassion, and that higher version of themselves that already lives within, but we just have to find the right conditions for it so it can bloom in the world. And these immersions are really a place where the experience that we have from them, from the people, is that they repeat them year after year after year, because it's not just about training that I am done and I got the information. It becomes the creation of a community, and they evolve and they change. They evolve with our evolution in Innerland. Pedro and I discover new things, and we share them, and we share them again. And so it becomes a worldwide community of people that keep growing together. And I think there's a deep longing for people in the world for community of inner growth.
Correct.
So that is the spirit behind the immersion. It may seem like a training, but it's really the creation of a space of growth.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
I remember very well. I have been a participant of many of you guys,
Mhm.
and I remember you used on one of them the word sangha.
Mhm.
No, because you love
Yes,
that part of the
inspired in
Buddhism.
Buddhism.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
very nice. Well, thank you very much, Tanya. And I would love to take some of the words that you mentioned and take it back to Pedro,
Mhm.
because indeed, it seems that both of you guys' work never stops. I met Pedro a few years before you, Tanya,
Mhm.
and he was already practicing and doing experiences on different parts of philosophy. Then I met him when I reconnected with him. You guys were doing the work of Byron Katie.
Mhm.
Then he finished his book. Well, now I'm talking to you, Pedro. Then you finish your book, Pedro, and all of the sudden now IBC is created, which is the most powerful tool that we have found so far
Mhm.
in terms of self inquiry, right? And if that's not enough, now we are doing parts work, right? That
Mhm.
we'll get into it later on, hopefully on the third or fourth episode of this. But what I am trying to say, Pedro, is that you guys never stop and you guys don't get married with one initiative, right?
Mhm.
And this sense of curiosity that Tanya, you were mentioning before, I feel that is very present and it is very evident on you guys' work. Pedro, would you like to tell us about it?
Well, there's different approaches to supporting people, in my experience, and one of them is the one where you accumulate methods and theory, and you validate those methods and theory on external sources of authority, or things like that. um, we That's not what we do. We develop our methods, we get inspired by our uh, different instructors, teachers, sources that we've had. And what guides the development of our methods is our own direct experience and the experience of the people that we work with. And this is an enormous difference between other models of development. We test and try in ourselves every day the methods that we use. And that gives us the true experience of having our own laboratory and
Mhm.
having our own testing grounds for what we are exploring. And as we discover new things, we evolve, we integrate, we connect with the coaches that we have that have graduated from the coaching program at Interland. We share our thoughts, we share the new things that we have been discovering, and we integrate and we integrate. We integrate because of what I was saying previously, Angel. There is so little effort in truly understanding and developing the context, the synergies, the reality, the rules, if we want to say it, of our inner world. There is so little effort put into that we are in new territory. And the best way to chart new territory is by doing it ourselves. So that's why we think we are explorers of this inner world, because we actually put ourselves through the process. And so when we have people doing our programs and we have people engaging in our methodologies, we know from the inside rather than from some kind of theoretical experience that should pan out or should give certain results. So it's very organic, it's very lived, and it's very community based, as Tanya was saying, with our coaches, with the people that are working with us, and we just think it's the only way. It's the only way to do it. So doing this integration has led us to a model that we call inquiry-based coaching, IBC, that you mentioned. And inquiry-based coaching is a model where we actually identify and acknowledge what happens to us when we have an assumption that is driving our life. And we're full of assumptions. We call them red chairs or head trash, whatever you like better. Red chairs because it's like a red chair in the middle of a room. Oh, it's like there, and you move around and you make assumptions, and why is it there, et cetera, et cetera. We call it head trash because it's basically what gets in the way of happiness. Another analogy we use is the VR sets that we see some YouTube videos out there with people living in a different reality that bump into the wall or hit something or break something. And it's a very similar analogy of how we live. We go around life, we're doing our thing, and then, oh, we're shocked because this person felt unheard, or we did this to that other person, or we do stuff to ourselves that is hurtful as well. It's like living in this space. So what IBC does is it allows us to take off the headset and see what really is going on around us. And as we do that, the solutions for our issues and our problems are exquisitely self-evident. They're just there, waiting. And it's a very simple set of questions. We also have developed an app that has the model integrated into it. It's a very simple set of questions. These are questions that you don't answer in the traditional way you answer questions. You don't answer questions from what we call the fast mind, the reactive mind. These are questions that you answer from the slow mind, the mind that actually really connects to who we are. And it's one of the most important components of our immersions and our programs, inquiry-based coaching.
Yes, yes. I love the analogy of taking the mask off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And perfect. Thank you very much, Pedro. Tanya, those questions that Pedro was referring to, right? I know. Going back to your love for philosophy, right? The mind that inquires. There is 5 fundamental parts to you that you have shared with many of us about what it requires whenever you're going to practice self-inquiry. Because that is the first step to join, to have a session with IBC, right? That Pedro so kindly just explained to us. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So the inquiring mind, the mind that wants to explore within, has to have the right setup. And the right setup is one where we can really get there by just responding 5 questions. The first is, how willing am I to be wrong about what I have assumed, these red chairs that Pedro was talking about, this head trash, about the world, about people, about situations? Am I willing to be wrong that what I think is incomplete? And if wrong is very difficult, let's just say, am I willing to understand that whatever I think about anything is incomplete or can be wrong from a certain perspective? The second one is, if I am willing to see that it might be incomplete, because everybody will say, yes, of course, I don't know everything, it's incomplete, or yes, I'm sure I'm wrong in some way. Well, that's not enough. The second is, okay, so then are you willing to be genuinely curious about what are the pieces that you're missing? What are the pieces that you're missing about life, about the people, about the situations? And then the third is, are you willing to be vulnerable? Because when we are curious and willing to be wrong, and we are opening into new territory, this becomes vulnerable emotionally, mentally, sometimes it puts us in a place of emotional, perhaps instability. And
Yes.
this can be uncomfortable. So the fourth question is, are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to be friends with discomfort as you explore? It's like these people that go into adventures into nature, into new territories, right? All the explorers of our worlds, in any way, it's in the space, in rockets, in ships, in expeditions to the Antarctica, have been willing to be uncomfortable and vulnerable and curious and wrong.
Exactly.
And the third is, are you
The
willing
fifth.
to be humble? Humble meaning not lower or higher than anyone else, but humble in the sense that precisely our view will never have a 360 perception about anything. So there's always us to be, even if we find new territories, even if we go inside and discover our own Antarctica, our own America, our own moon, our own, we still have to remain humble, because we will still have so many layers to explore that unravel and show themselves with different stages in our lives. So the conclusions that I had at 30 are different from the ones that I have at 40 or now at 50. So keeping humility and that setup of an inquiring mind is a very beautiful skill for life. It's not only for the practice when you do this, but it's something to really, many coaches and students of ours say those 5 elements become a lifestyle, a way to approach life, with every conversation, with every discussion. It supports being flexible. It supports inclusion. Now we're in a time where diversity and inclusion are very important. So these 5 questions support diversity, support inclusion, support union.
Absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
God, Tanya and Pedro, I'm just unfortunately we're reaching to. We have to finish the program, right?
Yes.
But this is very exciting because I feel that we will be able to hold so many more interesting chats with the two of you. I
Yes.
want to thank the two of you for your presence, to everyone who was watching, and but I want to give you. Please, if the two of you can share a message with everyone who is watching about, because in this second episode we're going to be talking about the concept of self-inquiry. Why is it so important to do self-inquiry? And then, of course, we're going to talk about the ABC. But if you guys just want to share in a few words why you invite them to watch the second episode, and so they can come back to see us.
Mm-hmm. Well, the what I would say is watch the second episode and be curious about self-inquiry, because you deserve to live a life free of suffering.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tanya. Pedro?
Yeah, what else could I add to that? I would ask the question: are you ready to start living? Are you ready to remove the headset? Are you ready to heal internally? Are you ready to align yourself with who you really are? And are you ready to share that with others?
Lovely. Thank you. I know I was ready a few years ago, and I'm still in the process.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you very much. We're gonna finish. Thank you everyone for watching, and I look forward to see you all in our second episode coming next week.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank
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 you,
you.
you.
Angel.
Thank you, everyone.